Alright guys, sorry I had to start a new video there, but so I've got everything glued in, okay? So I have adding and subtracting rational numbers, my steps to follow, okay? And that's got steps 1, 2, and 3, okay? That was mentioned in the other video. My hints folder, okay? And I'm not gonna lie, I cheated. I stapled these before I glued it in, okay? And I told you there's going to be like 3 different little tabs here that we could use, okay, to write our answers on. Alright, so if we just kind of, I'm going to scoot it over a little bit. Okay, so the steps to follow first says evaluate. Are they in the same form? Well, we both have fractions, okay, and are negative subtrahends used? Well, no. Do they have a common denominator? Well, we have 8 and 5, so no, they do not. Alright, so step 2, convert. Alright, so we don't have to worry about step 2. We don't have to convert anything, and there's no negative subtrahends. Alright, so we'll just go on to number 3, find the answer, and simplify, okay? Now, when adding rational numbers, or subtracting, okay, we need to try to get our denominators the same. Okay, we need to get them like denominators. Okay, because if we have like fractions, we can add and subtract. Basically, just the top number, the bottom number will stay the same. Your denominator will stay the same. So, for negative 6/8 minus 4/5, we need to get those denominators to the same. Okay, and really the easiest way to do this is to just multiply those two together, okay, and that's going to give us a common denominator. So if we just take 8 times 5, okay, so that's what we'll do on this next tab here. Alright, I'm going to rewrite it. Negative 6/8 minus 4/5. Everybody stay in your seats. It's not time to change class just yet. So anything that I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top. So in order to get the same denominator, I have to multiply this by 8. This side, I have to multiply by 5. Okay? Multiply it by 5. So 5 times negative 6, alright, that's going to be 30. That's going to be negative. Alright. 5 times 8, well, that's 40. Alright, minus. Alright, 4 times 8 should give us 32. And 5 times 8 is 40. Okay, now, what do we have here? Well, we have fractions that have the same denominator. Okay, a negative, subtract 32/40. Alright, so let's go to our next tab. I'm going to write what I had over there. So it was negative 30/40 minus 32/40. Now, we can use SEC here because we're subtracting if we want. So we have negative 30, minus over 40. We're going to change. Alright, SCC, change the subtraction to addition, and change the sign of the second number. Alright, so that positive 32/40 goes to what? Well, it goes to negative 32/40. Alright, so let's flip to the next one. And I'm going to write negative 30/40 plus negative 32/40. Okay? Now, our denominators are the same. So all we need to do is we could just add the top. So we get 62/40, negative 62/40. Okay? Now, we need to simplify. Okay? We need to simplify. So if we simplify, there's a couple different ways we can do that. All right, we can put it into a decimal. And to put it into a decimal, we do what? Well, 62 divided by 40. Okay? Or we can just find a common factor of these. All right? Seeing I have a 2 and a 0, well, those are even numbers. Okay? So I can just start off by dividing each by 2. So if I divide each side by 2, or the numerator and denominator by 2, I'm going to get 31 over 20. Okay? Now, that's negative. All right? Now, I'm going to run out of room here just a little bit, but I can show you on this next page too. Okay? So when we get here, so to simplify an improper fraction. So an improper fraction is when the numerator is larger than the denominator. Okay? So let me slide over here, and I'm just going to put number 1, and we are at negative 62 over 40. And we said that's negative 31 over 20. Okay? Now, when we do this, we can do this the same way as if we were going to put it into a decimal. Okay, but we can leave it as a fraction. I'll show you how. Okay, so I have 20. Okay, and I'm going to divide. I'm going to take 31 and divide it by 20. So 20 goes into 31 one time, right? Okay. Now, 1 times 20 is 20. I subtract those, and I get 11. Okay? Now, if we're changing an improper fraction, I'm going to write it down. To a mixed number. And that's what we're going to do. Okay? Right here's my whole number. Okay? So that's going to equal 1. Now I'm going to carry my negative, okay? Negative 1. This now is my numerator. And this is my denominator. Okay? So now this is a mixed number. A whole number and a fraction is a mixed number. Okay? So this is your simplified answer to this problem right here. So negative 1 and 11/20. Okay? Alright, number 2. I'm going to go ahead and do this over here too. Alright, so I have 3.1 plus 8/4. Okay, so 3.1 plus 8/4. Now, if we remember, the steps to follow ask if they have or in the same form. Well, these are not. Okay. So, for the most part, I think most of us will agree that decimals are probably easier to work with than actual fractions. Okay. So in that case, let's convert our fraction to a decimal. Okay. So if I'm going to convert my fraction into a decimal, what do I need to do? Well, I need to divide my numerator by my denominator, right? So what is 8 divided by 4? Yeah, it's just 2. Okay, so now I got 3.1 plus 2 is equal to, well, what is 3.1 plus 2? Well, I'm going to add my whole numbers. I get 5. Then my decimals, all that's left is 0.1. Okay? So convert fraction to a decimal, okay, which is just 2, and then you can just add straight across. Okay? Now, what will 5.1 look like in a fraction? Well, 5.1 like a fraction is what? 5, okay? And 0.1, well, that's 1/10, right? So 1/10. Okay? Those are all equal. Okay? All right. Let's go to number 3. This is number 3. 24 minus negative 9/8. All right. So 24 minus negative 9/8. Okay. Now here again, we have a whole number and a fraction. Okay. It will be easier to just convert our fraction into a mixed number or to a decimal. Okay. So let's convert -9, and we're going to divide it by 8. Okay, numerator divided by denominator. So 8 goes into 9 one time. Okay, 1 times 8 is 8. All right, we'll subtract those. All right, let me get rid of that negative. So we'll subtract those. Now, what did I tell you up here at the top? This number is your whole number. Okay. I'm going to rewrite this. 24 minus negative, now I got a whole number, 1. Here's my numerator. And there's my denominator. Okay. Now, you can always put this in a decimal. Okay? You can always put it in a decimal. So if you wanted to put it into a decimal, you would have just kept going and put your decimal right here and just keep going until either you recognize that it had a repeating decimal or it terminated. Okay? So we're subtracting. So we're going to change that. We're going to SCC. Okay? So I'm going to change that. Change the sign. Okay? So now there's now where we're at. 24 plus 1 and 1/8. Well, we just add our whole numbers, 25, and then we add 1/8. Okay, so 25 and 1/8. Okay. All right. Number 4, 5.8 minus -2. All right. Number 4, 5.8 minus -2. All right. So we just use SCC. All right. And that tells us that the first one stays the same. Change subtraction to addition. And change the sign of the second number. So now that's a +2. When we get here, all we need to do is add. So 7.8. Okay. Number 5. All right. Now, here we have 4.3 plus 2/6. 4.3 plus 2/6. Okay. Now, we can either convert our decimal to a fraction or our fraction to a decimal. Okay. So, like I said earlier, I think most of those are better. I don't want to say better, but we're more comfortable with decimals, I would think, than fractions. So let's take our 2/6 and put it into a decimal. Okay, so numerator divided by denominator. So 6 goes into 2, well, it doesn't go into it at all. So there's where our decimal starts. Now we're just going to add zeros with inside our house. So 6 goes into 20, well, it goes into it 3 times. All right, that gives me 18. Okay. Now, we got 20 minus 18. Well, that's a 2. 6 won't go into 2, so we'll bring our other 0 down. Okay. Now, once we get here, we should see what? Well, we should see a pattern emerging. Right? So 20, 18, 20, 18, 20, 18. All right, it's just going to keep going. Okay? So now we know that what? Well, that's repeating. Okay? So that's a bar notation. So now we have 4.3 plus 0.3, and I'm going to put this in here just to show you. 3, and that's repeating. Okay? Because when we go and add these, it's going to kind of change it a little bit. So now if we add, we get 4.63 with just the 3 repeating now. Okay? Hold on just one moment. Alright, sorry about that, guys. I'm back. Okay, so this is where we're at now. Okay? So 4.63 repeating. Okay? So like I said, unless it specifies, do whatever's more comfortable for you, putting it into a decimal. Okay? Or putting it, leaving it as a fraction, a mixed number. Okay? And we'll see how our questions come out on our assignments. Okay? But as of right now, we will be adding and subtracting rational numbers, okay, for the first, maybe this assignment coming up with this math journal entry, with the same denominator, okay? And then we'll get back into all of this, okay? And then we'll just, we'll go from there. But if you have any questions or anything, always refer back to this, okay? You can come back and look at this at any time. This video, look at these examples, okay? And always come back and look at your hints and your steps to follow, okay, on quizzes or assignments. I want you to make sure, I want you all to do these math journals and make sure you're utilizing them to their potential, okay, to help you understand the material, okay? And now you have my videos explaining some of this. Okay, and if need to, if enough people have problems, then I'll post another video just working, adding and subtracting. Okay, so go ahead and go to Google Classroom. You have a short assignment there from the 2 math journal entries today, and then get those completed and get those turned in.